Hello there, and welcome to the Night Owl. Tonight, as a last minute favor to me, we have the real Sean Crummell who's stepping in instead of Dread Roberts. Dread Roberts had a family matter that he had to attend to, and we're all, of course, thinking of it's nothing bad, but we're just thinking of him in a good way and hope that whatever it is that he's dealing with will be quickly, I don't want to say resolved. Everything is great. Everything is great, and I'm so happy. Great things are happening to Dread Roberts.
I'm totally picturing Leslie Nielsen with the fireworks factory from Naked Gun.
I'm like Leslie Nielsen. I'm the worst. Like,
There's nothing
I am
here.
legitimately Leslie Nielsen here for sure. So Dread Roberts had to deal with a family thing, but everything is fine, and we will probably see and hear from him very soon. Not today, but some other day. And of course, I think I covered that. So here, as a last minute, and I really am grateful to the real Sean Crummell who's shown up. The real Sean Crummell, he's on another stream that I do every Thursday called Quantum Leap Revisited, that some of you may be familiar with. Now, on Quantum Leap Revisited, we actually go over old Quantum Leap episodes. And even though we kind of celebrate that show, Sean's no stranger to this kind of pop culture stuff and all the discourse and everything that's going on in entertainment and franchises being ruined, and he knows a lot about that kind of stuff. So it's always good to hear his perspective. And his perspective is one of an artist. He actually he's working on his own comic book. He has his own sticker collection, and he does really cool drawings, and knows a lot about comics, retro comic book reviews, which you could see on his channel. All highly recommended, and very thankful that you kind of hopped in here last minute. How's it going, Sean?
It's good. I'm just messing with my 20 questions holocrons from Star Wars.
That is wonderful. I am also we have a few comments. We have Professor R2. Hey, Professor R2, how's it going? We have Kivo1961, Mur Rockstra. Nice to see you. Kivo1961, that's from the Rumble side, which we're always happy to see. And yeah, totally. Let's see what's going on here. It's important
Yeah,
to pay
man.
attention to Rumble also. A lot of people often watch us there, so so I
I
hope
think that's
everybody's
where
doing well between YouTube and Rumble and all these different things. Great to see everybody here. And yeah, it's been a day with a lot of developments actually. For starters, I mean, I know Sean, you haven't been interested in watching the Acolyte, and I don't blame you. The Acolyte is really for lack of a better term to describe it, it is a piece of shit show. Hey, Scribe Light, how's it going? So great to see you here. And Professor R2, nice to see you too, and Rockstraw. Anyhow, you
it's
talk about
basically.
a show where an actor can play two roles really well, like you discussed tonight. Yeah, I mean, Quantum
Oh,
Leap.
yeah.
Quantum Leap, that's where you saw a guy play two roles and convince you that he can play them. The Acolyte is the opposite situation. And I've said that this is a problem since the first moment I saw that show. This actress, this Amanda Stenberg, putting aside all of her annoying propaganda and politics and certain different things like that, I actually just don't think that she has the acting chops to pull off these two characters on the Acolyte. It doesn't help that the writing is terrible, so they never really. Professor R2 says, I keep watching it. I'm some kind of masochist, I guess. I, I understand. I mean, I'm the same way. It's kind of a train wreck at this point that you kind of are just curious to see. You know it's going to crash. You just don't know, like, at what angle. And you're watching to see what angle it's crashing in.
But if you could create commentary that is even more entertaining than the actual show, I think you have something.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's certainly something entertaining to discuss the show, but it's not a good show. But the bottom line is that this actress is not good enough to pull off this role, and it's not even written well enough for her to. It's like what comes before, the chicken or the egg? It's written so
Mm,
poorly, but sometimes I've seen movies that aren't that good, but Denzel Washington is in them. Automatically, the movie is like 3 times better than it would be with any other actor because he just
yeah.
adds so much depth to every sentence that he says that you're like, oh wow, something serious must be going on here. But in this case, you have a screenplay that's terrible and an actress that's required to play 2 roles. She's supposed to play 2 sisters that are very quote unquote different from each other. Not only do they
Mhm.
write them in a way that you don't know what's exactly, they don't really define them enough to begin with, and her acting, it's like she's not even, she seems the same to me. If you film her as this sister or that sister, she's the same thing. I mean, I know they call them different names, so it's supposed to be different sisters, but if they didn't call different names, who knows? I may Scribe like says it's not a show, it's a statement, it's a protest. I agree. I mean, it is everything that's wrong with Hollywood, but what I'll say about this show before we dig into some of her, the twerking or whatever the rap song she did today. What I'll say is that, and
I've
I think I
obviously
know,
been out of it.
I
She
think
did
I
a
know,
she did a rap song.
she did a rap song and she's twerking and she's attacking fans. We'll actually play
Oh
that. I
my
don't even mind.
god.
I don't know if we'll get struck or what'll happen, but hopefully I'll snip it later or whatever it is. But what I want to say is that it's no coincidence that we got, in my opinion, that song, that rap song that she was singing. I think that what happened here is there was such apathy to this show. So many people don't care about it. There's no interest. The ratings are low. Everybody knows, except for these shill critics that keep writing that it's the best thing that ever happened. Everybody knows that this is a massive turd. Even a lot of people in the past were more tolerant of stuff of Disney Star Wars. Even they, I feel like, don't have any patience. They've lost pretty much everybody with this show, and I feel like this is like the biggest Hail Mary pass. This reminds me of like Kelly Marie Tran and chasing her off of social media. It reminds me of Moses Ingram that she got quote unquote a million DMs saying naughty things, not naughty, Istanphobe things to her in DMs or whatever it is. This reminds me of that situation. That it's the classic Lucasfilm playbook. You're littered with a bunch of crappy politics. Disney Lucasfilm. You release something crappy that nobody likes, nobody's connecting with, nobody wants the merch, nobody wants the, the ratings are going down. There's no conversation about it. So what do? It's a form of race baiting. What do? You try to push somebody's buttons. Maybe you try to do something that'll get a rise. Maybe there will be some people will complain about this thing, and then they can try to spin it that there's Istanphobes complaining about it. That's exactly what I feel happened here, and she did it on June 18th, which is a day that's symbolic.
Oh.
I am not African American. I don't really know all the symbolism of the date, but apparently it's a date that's important for some thing.
Well, it's important to some people, and then it's forced important to others. So take it
Ye-
as you will, as an
Yeah,
individual.
I'm going to say something, and this may be a bit controversial. It could be the ignorant, dumb me. I accept that what I'm about to say now. I'm going out on a limb here. I may be saying something stupid, so I'm adding this disclaimer. I know that before a few years ago, I never heard anything about this day or that this day was a thing. Nobody ever talked
Mhm.
about it. When I say nobody, I mean like
Yep.
people who were African American. Never heard them mention this day. Never heard that this was a day that anybody was craving for or looking to make into a holiday. Now, I don't care. You
Mhm.
want to add a holiday, you can add it. I mean, who cares? Like, do whatever you want. But another day of vacation, it's fine. Certainly, there's a lot of holidays and stuff. I don't really care. I'm just saying that I don't remember that this was such an important day to people, but suddenly it became important. Uh,
I
that
saw a meme recently. It was like serfs in like the 1600s had like 150 holidays just because the church was like, we need to keep these people happy, and they're like, it was something like serfs in the 1600s had more vacation days than you, and I was like, wow, that's messed up.
So listen, I don't care. You want to make it a day, you want to make it a vacation, do it. I'm not here to tell people how to feel or what to do. All I'm saying is that I had never heard of that day, and it suddenly became a day. Um, but on this day, Amanda Stenberg, the actress from The Acolyte, decided to release a rap song. Now, why did she decide to release a rap song? First of all, I think it was this because of this Trevor Noah thing, apparently. Uh,
But was it from a few years ago?
yes.
That's what I had heard. But even still, like if that's your mentality, it's like, ugh, you're ugly.
Let me see if I can find this thing. Here it is. I think it's this thing. I'm going to share it now so we can see the original thing that became the thing that they're talking about.
I can't believe that she's been around enough that people were like, "Oh, was that the original post or another post?"
Okay, so can you see this?
Yeah.
When people watch The Hate You Give, what do you want them to walk away with? Because I know everyone has a slightly different feeling.
Well, I mean, white people crying actually was the goal. It was the goal.
Stunning and brave.
What
No,
What was this in context to, though?
I mean, there was some kind of movie, I guess, that she was making, and I guess the movie she wanted white people crying. Now, here's the thing. According to her, and this is, I guess, going to be addressed in a rap song, she's saying that this whole thing was taken out of context. That what she meant is that she wanted white people to empathize with her, so that's why she wanted them to cry. But I don't think the way that we're both chuckling about how white people crying. You know, the Hate You Give movie was itself some preachy, nonsense thing, and then to add the layer of the white people crying. Yes, I mean you could claim something that she was trying to claim, but it seems more like a form of gaslighting. But let me show you. She didn't like the people were now like attacking her and not liking the Acolyte, so she decided to release like a song. Really
well, those are
addressed it.
two separate things, aren't they? This is me, people not liking me. This is the Acolyte. It's like you're only responsible for your actions.
And all on
you're
on
not
June 18th, and all on June. She tied it with a bow on June 18th because I mean this is another Moses Ingram situation. They want to say, listen, we were trying to be diverse and inclusive. There were all these Istanphobes that didn't like that, and now we're going to battle them. And what better day to battle than on June 18th to show exactly these type of like quote unquote oppressors, what they're doing wrong. Now, that they would use this day for it, and I say they because I don't think this lady operates in a vacuum. I don't think that she can just. It's more than I think. I've worked with talent in Hollywood. A lot of times, and especially with a company like Disney, you sign these very kind of ironclad. That sounds like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie that was never made. Ironclad.
I'd watch it.
I'd watch it too. I want to see Ironclad. Ironclad Van Damme sounds like the coolest thing ever.
He's like looking at you on a movie poster, like.
But back to the thing with her. So what happened is these are ironclad agreements, and you can't just go and start like releasing a song that you're talking about this thing. This would have to be done in coordination with Disney's PR, with Lucasfilm PR. It doesn't just happen out of nowhere. I don't think she just sat there and said, "Oh, I just want to record myself twerking and singing and whatever." I think there's more to it than that. And this was very kind of well thought out in the sense of what kind of gaslighting and propaganda you're trying to push. Let me see if I can find this thing.
It's funny that this sounds very important, and I completely missed it because I'm doing adult stuff. I'm not trying to belittle it, but it's just funny that like I haven't heard anything about it.
Wait a second.
I'm usually up on these things.
Hold on for a second. Wow.
Is it
She's
removed?
she's apparently keeping people from monetizing the thing. We're gonna watch it, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just snip like the thing. But this is what it is. Are you ready?
My body is ready.
I don't know if you are, but let's do it. I'm probably gonna get some kind of claim, but we'll see what happened.
Brace.
Who said dread on that Rakita life? No. Who said no? Dread is dealing with some family stuff, but everything's okay. He just had some family things going on, and he's dealing with that. But it's all great stuff, and hopefully he'll be here next time.
I'm so shocked at how far-reaching that Ricada life stuff is.
Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, I hope you're ready. This is really, really something special.
You watch my face peel back off of its skull.
Okay, I hope you're ready, Sean.
I'm
This
bracing.
is the rap song from Amanda Stenberg.
I work
Amandla.
with a girl that looks like that.
Amanda Stenberg. What kind of name is Amanda? But okay.
I like the tube top.
Sean, are you still there?
Sorry, I muted myself. My initial reaction is to treat it with mockery because of just the era that we're living through. I want to handle it more in an intelligent way, though. So it's
cringe and it sucks, man.
It does, but my gut reaction,
just throwing it out there.
I initially want to be like, this is just crap. But then I'm like, okay, so let's think about this logically. My initial reaction will be, you are an actress in Hollywood, and half of the stuff that you're singing about, you will or would never have dealt with the common man in the street. And recently having half of my life falling out from underneath me, I feel like I've started having to work a job that I haven't worked since I was 15. It was my first job. So I'm coming in contact with I feel like basic humanity more. Even I was never in a position to have any kind of privilege before, but I feel like I'm recognizing how little so many people have. And having an actress sing to me about her problems is always going to be an issue. Secondly, what else was there?
The music was crap, and it was
The music
super cringe.
was garbage.
It was awful, man.
Her humping is not going to get any message across. Her skimpy outfit is not going to help her cause.
I want to say something. People have weighed in the chat with some very interesting comments. We have Professor R2 that said her wealthy white dad must be so proud. Is her white? Is
is he?
Let me see for a second. I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know where this lady came from. I didn't really recognize her, but
is she getting paid double for being in the Acolyte? And I can only, if you're working a $13 an hour job, compared to a girl that's playing pretending to play two Star Wars characters and getting paid double, it's F off. How do you think you relate to the common man?
No, her father apparently
dad is Danish.
Okay, her dad is Danish, and Let's look. Maybe he's an African Danish. So let's just look at a picture of him.
That sounds like a delicious dessert, not to be rude. I just like the sound of it.
Apparently, I think that this is. Let me just make sure. And Tom Stenberg. Okay, this is her and her father. For 400 years, she's been oppressed. Let's see what her father looks like. Are you ready, Sean?
I'm not, but go ahead.
This is the father of the lady that's been oppressed for hundreds of years. She's only been around only for like 10, 20, whatever. I don't know. How
Ugh,
old is she? 20?
I would guess 20.
But this is her. She's been oppressed for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years she's been oppressed. This is her father, apparently.
Sorry.
I mean, at least he's with her at the BET Awards, so showing some solidarity towards her oppression. There.
Can I tell you, at some point in my life, everything felt like it was becoming. You know how Hollywood for years has suffered from bad remakes. I feel like we've been going through like a bad remake of the civil rights, which I actually respected. All the people that suffered during the 60s and the different riots and stuff. I feel like we're co-opting the 60s, and I really hate it.
It's like J.J. Abrams remade the 60s.
Exactly.
No, but
go ahead.
Empress and I never come across a breakfast Danish I didn't like. And what I wanted to say was, nobody ever says, I'm not suggesting, and I don't think anybody's suggesting that there's no discrimination in the world or that the world is.
No, there's always going to be something.
There were bad things in history. I'm not saying that there aren't bad things that happen in the world, but this thing, whatever we're looking at, that's always looking to just blame everybody for anything, even if you're just failing at something. This show is a failure. It's not a good show. I mean, if you saw this show like Fallout or whatever it is, it did well because people enjoyed it. Squid Games was an entirely diverse cast that because of the success of that, they brought the guy to this Acolyte show, and then everybody doesn't like the Acolyte show. If anything,
it was her original story too.
Right. If anything, most people that see the Acolyte say, well, we like that actor, but the show is crappy. You know what I mean? He's probably the only bright spot in this whole show, but there's nothing for him to do there. And he's not really used properly. And his English isn't that great, but let's say there was still something they could have done with him, but they don't even know what they're doing with him. He is a good actor, but he's I don't know how right he is for that. And the Acolyte isn't good. But what I'm saying is when Squid Games came on, nobody said, oh, like, why aren't there white people in the Squid Games or anything like that? When Godzilla -1 came out, nobody said, hey, how come there wasn't enough, LG white LG characters in the middle of that, because they weren't necessary. I mean, you told the story. It is what it is. And I don't think there's anything wrong with diversity or inclusion or any of those things. And I think discrimination is generally bad. But this is really, really cheap gaslighting. And there's no other way to do it. The whole song here was designed to annoy you, the Amanda Stenberg song. Every single thing she says in this is like designed to push a button and to annoy you. And
which is terrible because like if you want her to succeed, don't do this crap.
I mean,
you can be in a terrible show, you can still recover, but like don't hammer into people's heads that you hate them.
Right. I don't think that her career, I mean, listen, I don't know, maybe there will be a certain audience that wants to see her. I think that it would be difficult for her career to bounce back, but this is an attempt to rally people. It's on June 18th. She did a song. She, first of all, she says, well, all those things that I said to Trevor Noah, that was taken out of context. I mean, it didn't seem taken out of context. Plus, the movie itself was itself a preachy kind of, and lack of a better word, woke. And the other thing is that here in the song, she's like, oh, they've appropriated the word woke. Like, it used to be something that says that, and now they're using it for clickbait. But I don't think that's fair either, because I think that in the same way that you could claim that people were using it for clickbait, they were using it, people that wanted to use that word were also using it as a sort of weapon in certain places. Meaning, it's not that like one group was like so pleasant about how they were approaching and using it, and then the other group was claiming that it's woke. Uh, Also, sometimes, unfortunately, I'll give you an example. There are people in the world that their name is Karen. Okay, uh, they were called Karen, and that used to
My
be a good name.
mother-in-law is Karen, and
A- And I'm
we're
sure that
not
today,
happy about this.
yeah, I mean, now if somebody's called Karen, her name is like taken a whole different meaning, and there's nothing you can change. And most of the people that changed that Karen thing was actually, the African American community. They really pushed the Karen narrative and changed that name. Unfortunately, does that mean that all the Karens in the world are bad? No. I mean, I'm
No.
sure there's a lot of people with that name that are kind of bummed now that they've kind of been labeled this way.
Well, that's the
Uh,
same with any stereotype. It's like, you know what? Not everyone acts that way, but you
right.
will encounter an a-hole or two
Right, but
that
I'm trying
acts
to
like
say
that.
that just like Karen was transformed from just the name of a woman to something else,
Mhm.
woke, they wanted it to maybe initially be, and maybe there was good intentions initially. Maybe it
Yeah,
was supposed to
sure.
be a
Yeah.
word that shows that there's discrimination and you want to fight that discrimination. And I generally don't have an issue with that. But the way they latched on and started
Mhm.
pushing that word themselves was annoying. And the way it kind of spiraled, much like Karen, to something else, sometimes you just can't stop it. I mean, I don't often use the word, but I'll tell you that recently I watched like a segment of Jon Stewart, maybe accidentally. I don't really watch him these days, but I clicked on it, and like a few times he mentioned the word woke, but he didn't mention it like the way Amanda Stenberg is saying in the song. He mentioned it like you and I think what the word means. Do you get what I
Mhm.
mean? When you have a
Yeah.
guy
Well,
that's like on a hard left and he's talking like woke and I'm saying like the same word and we both say it the same way and understand that it means the same thing, much like
yeah,
a Karen that we understand what that means,
there's a
what can you do?
justification to the term at that point, or an
I
understanding of what we're all
it,
thinking it to mean, not
right.
necessarily.
It evolved. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it didn't, but it's not appropriation of the word. I don't think that it's like
Mhm.
she's trying to say, oh, it's cultural appropriation. You took the word woke and you made it this. I think that that's, it's the same thing like, oh, you appropriated Karen. What are you going to do?
Mhm.
Sometimes in the world, something just changes. And, I mean, and just so you know, there was like a show on Hulu a few years ago, nobody remembers, called Woke, where a guy like uh is woke and wants other people to be woke, or I don't know what it is. So it's like it's not that
There's a difference between actual words and ideas,
yes,
I think.
it was a word that some people maybe again initially had some good intentions around it. It developed in a lot of different directions, and I don't subscribe to that theory of hers. So I reject that theory. And
I reject everything. Like I said, like I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and they I don't know what it was about those 2 decades that they taught us. I feel like they taught us the actuality of, like, no, this was wrong, what happened. We shouldn't have been terrible to these people or whatever. And then, like, the new millennium just feels like a bad effing movie remake of the 60s trying to appropriate other people's actual struggles to.
and
It pisses me off, honestly.
I also, and again, I mentioned this, the thing where she's singing like, "Oh, for 400 years we've been oppressed," I'm looking at her and her father. That doesn't add up. And the other thing is that the 400 years thing is something that in 2020 I heard people kind of saying more, and even people I ran into online were saying stuff like that in different conversations. Sometimes when you ran into people on Twitter that were, foaming at the mouth or whatever, then they were talking about 400 years. I have not been around for 400 years. Nobody
Yeah,
has.
I gotcha.
Nobody has.
But
And
like, looking at her, and that is her dad, right?
yes, she
Like,
she she is not oppressed. I'm sorry, you can say
there
whatever you want. She is
there
not
really is
oppressed. She,
something to say for learned experience. Like, if that's your dad and you're complaining, like, you've been programmed at some point. And I don't know how you get around that. Like,
Professor R2 says, I don't use the word because it could be interpreted in too many ways. I call it what it is, cultural Marxism.
that's what it is too. I feel
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but to her, it's not. To the people forcing it top down, it is cultural Marxism. But like to her, she's just like, oh yeah, this is reality. I'm this color or whatever. I'm oppressed. Obviously, it's
Now, Willem03 had a very thoughtful comment. He says, she's actually cute when she smiles, but her mind is completely rotted.
and I said this to a recent friend that we made moving here. I was like, unfortunately, no matter how cute you are, my junk is directly tied to my ears. So if you say something stupid, I want nothing to do with you sexually.
Stephen Mack, the smug face of oppression. Yes, there is like a smugness about it that's annoying. She's
Yeah.
like, but this is part of this whole kind of Lucasfilm and this narrative and everything, which I think is all coordinated. This is meant to be the most annoying, and really, it is annoying. I mean, I was watching it and I was annoyed. I won't lie to you,
Yeah.
because it's one big gaslighting. She's been around. What, she's 20-something years old at best. How old is she? Let me see.
I'm gonna guess 22. I don't even know her name.
Amanda
little...
Stenberg. She's 25 years old. So in the
I would have won both showcases.
So in the 25 years old, so that means she would have been born in like the year 1999. Okay.
That was the year I graduated high school.
I am sorry to tell you. Now, I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with this country and nobody's ever been, discriminated against. I'll say it again. I don't think that, like, she grew up basically 2000 to today. Those weren't exactly the years of the most oppression, especially not for seemingly, she seems to come from a established or somebody wrote that her father is rich. I don't know if that's true. I don't want to jump to conclusions. She doesn't seem like she was living, in some like very difficult conditions amongst oppressors. She lived in a time not 400 years ago, but the past like 20 years, which I'm sorry, 20 years and 400 years ago is not the same.
I always try to reconcile in my head the 90s because we had the Rodney King LA riot thing, and that was pretty horrible. I remember that happening. I remember watching that on TV. But at the same time,
yeah,
during that same decade, we had like TGIF that has some of the most positive black TV families ever, along with the Cosby Show, regardless of what Bill turned out to be. I knew so many freaking kids in Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, that I swear they all wanted to be black growing up. I didn't know anyone that didn't watch all of these positive role models, and I feel like the 90s overall,
and
regardless,
most guys liked Denise. She was.
oh my god, she was so cute.
Yeah, right. I mean, like,
what's her name on TGIF or on Family Matters? She was annoying, but she was adorable. The daughter, I
can't remember her name.
But like, I feel like in the 90s we had a really positive thing going on.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even take it back further. I mean, you look at even shows that you see a show like The Jeffersons. You know what I mean? The Jeffersons was like 70s, 80s. Even then, I think that more effort was made to show stories, from black families, but also show that they're establishing themselves and doing things, and they're not just all like, they address certain things in discrimination with a lot more nuance than anything you see today, but they also knew how to show families that were successful.
Yeah, a different world. Oh God,
Whitney, whatever.
The daughter, the hot daughter. Didn't she marry Lenny Kravitz or something?
Yeah, that's Lisa Bonet. That's Denise.
Lisa Bonet. She went
Right.
off to college. The dude with the flip up glasses I thought was amazing. He was so
Right.
cool to me.
Dwayne.
Dwayne.
Right.
No, I
The
feel like we
only
had
thing I'll say
so
is
many positive influences.
the only thing I'll say about that show is I started the first season and I really, for me, the draw was that Lisa Bonet was
Yeah.
on that show. But then
Oh.
what happened was that she left after 1 year, and then we were
Yeah.
left with like Dwayne, which I liked his character, but they
Mhm.
made like the love interest Whitney or whatever her name is.
Yeah,
Whitney.
yeah.
That for me was kind of, I didn't like it as much. You know, without
Yeah.
Denise there, that was
Yeah,
an
yeah.
issue for me. But that show still went on a long time. I just kind of didn't like that. You know, I wanted to see more of Lisa Bonet personally, but to each his own.
I was so all over the place with television back in the day that like I did not care what race you were. I watched everything because, well, for better or worse. I don't know what this is about upbringing, but I watched so much TV that if you had a character that fell in love with a black girl, I was like, okay, I get it. She's adorable. Like I don't know what the problem is.
So yeah, I mean, so we're seeing this thing here, and we saw the rap song, and it was super cringe. I think I addressed the main points. The 400 years of oppression is stupid. This thing of trying to find context for her interview. The movie itself was already a movie that takes a dump on white people to begin with. And the fact that while she's promoting that movie, she's laughing about white people, it kind of isn't, I don't know how to say it. The optics there aren't great, and she can try to dance around it all she wants. It seems like that's what she thought.
Well, even her saying that makes her look like an ugly person.
Right. And the thing is that if she wanted to sort of say that she's somebody else, she could have gone and made a statement on the day of that went viral. Instead, she made a rap song that she's twerking, talking about the 400 years of oppression, all the bigots, istophobes that are against her, and what a victim she is. So really, she kind of is just enhancing that she actually said what we all said that she thought. Do you get what I'm saying? This very song and how she acts and talks on it it validates that what everybody was thinking was true, not what she's saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
She's now
gross.
proving that everybody was telling the truth.
But like, it's so hard because I'm middle aged, and I'm like, wow, I'm dealing with I'm processing my life in a totally different way where I'm like, if I was 20, I definitely had ideas of how the world works. If I'm 20 and people are telling me how the world works, then I'm going to behave like that. I'm like, she's too stupid to know better. Like, put out a rap song when you're 50, live a little, and maybe not be so rich. It's just so hard to deal with Hollywood because they're all so isolated and stupid.
Absolutely. And honestly, nothing is going to save this show. She's irritating. She's annoying. I felt that same kind of annoyance when I saw that they're trying to pull a fast one with Moses Ingram and with Kelly Marie Tran. But with every time that they roll out one of these things, it becomes just, I don't know if to say it's like the boy that cried wolf. You say it once, you say it twice. How many times are you going to come out with the same stupid narrative?
Seriously, it hasn't worked in what was it, 2012? So like what, 14 years? 12 years, 14 years? You can only
It
blame
doesn't
the
work, and they keep
fans
trying it over and over
so
again.
many times. Like, it's such a bitch-made response to say, "Oh, you didn't like it? Well, then there's something wrong with you." Like, how? I'm sorry, Bryce. How fucking incompetent and immature are you to say I made a bad product. It's your fault for not liking it. Like what are you, freaking 9 years old? What are you, a child? You're obviously mentally and emotionally immature to be in this position of power.
Yeah, and I also the thing that I also don't like here is that somebody has decided, and this is especially in the past few years, that if you have a certain skin color, if like your skin color is light skin or whatever it is, then everything is great for you. You can't have a problem in the world. Nothing bad happens to you. You just kind of walk around, and there's like everybody's like throwing a red carpet at you, and you're like, bowing down to you and showering you with money and with praise just for
God,
like
I
having
wish
a
that
certain
was true.
skin color. But if you're, if you're that, then everything is against you and everybody is oppressing you. And I think that, that narrative doesn't work, and it especially doesn't work in our day. If you would have told me now we're going to the South in the, 1940s or 50s or whatever it is, sure. Yeah, I accept that. I understand that there's statistically and things that people had to deal with there. I understand that. But I think that in 2025, to try to sell that same narrative, it is absolutely not the same, 2024. It's absolutely not the same time. It's a different time, it's a different era. And to try to pretend that, from 1940, 50 until today, there's been no progress, I think that's nonsense. And I think, if anything, in the past, and this is just my personal opinion, over the past maybe 5 to 7 years, I feel like instead of progress, we're getting the opposite. Uh, and I'll tell you why, in my opinion. And again, I'm just maybe rambling, but I'll tell you what my thoughts are.
You're good.
Basically, what were we talking about? It's a late hour. What was I saying?
We're talking about privilege. It's like,
But right. I was going to say something that I was adding disclaimers, right?
yeah, I don't know. I all I can say is, like, I grew up in a 1904 farmhouse in western Pennsylvania that had no insulation, no heat, and no air conditioning. I went to school. I am $200,000 in debt. The bottom of my whatever I had as a career fell out below me. And if you want to tell me I have privilege, it's like, shut up. You're never going to win this argument with me. Especially if you are a spoiled brat in Hollywood on a Star Wars show. I would have effing murdered someone to be a Star
Star
Wars
Wars.
character in my youth. It is the whole inspiration for these cartoony characters behind me. And you're going to tell me that you're oppressed? And it's like,
And for 400 years, she's 25, but
she's
she's been
25.
oppressed.
She's been oppressed for 400
years.
years.
Yeah.
I'm like, shut up.
So
I
I
work
think
as a janitor. Shut up.
I think that, like, over the past 7 years, it's been like a step back. I think that's what I started saying. That sometimes, this is the thing that I thought I was going to get in hot water, but this is what I think. Sometimes change that happens that you expect it to happen overnight, that's not quality change. I'm not saying that change happening more gradually or slowly necessarily is fair or good, but sometimes when you have a change that's gradual, it's something real. And I think that what happened with African American community or whatever, over many decades, I think maybe it wasn't fast enough, but whatever was happening for real. And the
It
past
was organic.
Right, it was organic. In the past few years, there's like this feeling of like bullying, and you're trying to make something happen in a second, not only just with that, but in general with all the cancel culture and all the pushing of agendas and different things like that. Change that you just expect somebody to say, like, you should change now or else, is never going to be quality change.
And
But
that all sounds like top-down racism to me from
right.
corporations like BlackRock, were like, you need to force change because they can't do it for themselves.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
this never.
holy crap, you racists.
It doesn't sound good at all. But I want to welcome Professor R2 to the program. How's it going, man?
Hey, it's going well, Price. How are you doing this evening?
Good.
Nice to meet you there, Sean.
Hey.
I
Sorry, I'm rambling.
saw you in the chat.
Yeah.
And you know something so strange. We've been following each other for a very long time, and then this week, you appeared in a post where we were talking to somebody. I don't know, one of our joint contacts, and I was looking at your profile. I don't know, I clicked or something, and it said that I think you were following me and I wasn't following you, but I was 100% sure that I was following you. I know this sounds weird, but I was following you. I have no reason to unfollow you.
Who knows?
And I have to wonder why that happened. I'm still kind of thinking about it.
Who knows? Yeah, there's a lot of that going around. I've noticed there's a few channels on YouTube that I follow that suddenly I don't follow them anymore. That's weird.
It does
It's
that
happened
sometimes.
with one specifically was Baggage Claim. That it's like, no, I know I follow her. It's really interesting that I'm no longer there. But yeah, well, yeah, you're speaking my language. You're talking you're talking all about the stuff that I feel like I'm just experiencing every single day. Just hearing all of this nonsense about oh, I'm so oppressed. Oh, you can't use woke. That's our word, kind of thing.
You
And
culturally appropriated woke.
Oh.
I mean, and that's why I was giving the example of Karen. Whether do I say they culturally appropriated? There's nothing you can do. Sometimes a word just develops into and evolves into something, and you know, it doesn't matter if somebody once wanted something this or that. To just say, well, now it's just clickbait. It's not just clickbait. I think that people have concerns that are real, that they feel like certain messages have been pushed in a very extreme way, and that they don't think that it's productive. And I think that saying that is fine. Yes, I try to steer away from the word exactly because of annoying people like Amanda Stenberg. I most of the time still try to steer away from that word. But sometimes, what can I do? I mean, if there's like a movie or like, you know, I'm watching, there was that movie, I don't remember what it is that they did in the BBC or ITV or whatever it is, that the Queen of England was a black woman. Now, if that's not woke casting, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? How am I going to describe that casting to you? We can think of a million words, but let's be honest. How am I going to describe that casting?
Yeah.
I don't have it. I don't really have another word. What am I going to do?
Yeah, when you're conversing with other people too, you know, there's lots of other people that tend to use that word, and so you're like, well, you know, how do I do I keep trying to convince them to say something else? You know, but yeah, it. I feel like it's become a very loaded word. Yeah, Anne Boleyn, Stephen Mack. That's the one, and that's actually the same actress who is playing the head of the witches in the Acolytes.
That is probably why they hired her. They probably sat and said, "This is great. This is great. She's Anne Boleyn. This is great. We got to hire her for the Acolyte."
No, this historical revisionism. It's so irritating, and there's been a lot of it recently.
They did a movie. It's called The Personal History of David Copperfield in 2019. I used to do quality control for movies and streaming for the last few years. They hired the dude, I think he's from Slumdog Millionaire, which didn't bother me because in the context of the story, they're like, he never knew his father, and they show like his tombstone. And I was like, oh, all right. So if he's like, maybe he's like part white, part Indian descent. He goes to school. He meets his like best friend's mother, and she comes out and she is absolutely black, and she's in like regal, like freaking like English historic dress and stuff. And I immediately felt like I was looking at a flamingo barking. I was like, what is happening? It was so terrible. I'm like, you can't do this to people, man. Like, people's sense of realism is gonna kick in, and if you do this, it's gonna kick them out of the movies, gonna kick them out of the narrative. So, like, what are you even trying to do? Are you trying to tell a story, or are you trying to like punch people in the face? And it feels like you're always trying to punch people in the face. Sorry.
No, yeah,
it's
I
fine.
understand.
As I kind of like you were saying just before I got on here, Price, like it feels like we've gone backwards, right?
We
I mean,
have.
I'm old enough to remember the 80s and the 90s, and I felt like in a lot of ways, racial relations were pretty great in the 90s and in the early 2000s. We were having fun, white kids were enjoying rap, and
Will
there
Smith was
was
like
all
one of the
kinds of
biggest character or
yeah,
biggest actors.
yeah, and there was crossovers here, and then there's become this much more. I don't even know what the word would be. This sort of insular idea that now, well, I can only see myself, I can only understand myself, I can only embrace the ideas of someone else if they look exactly like me. And there's a lot of that comes down from a number of different postmodern theories and stuff. I believe me,
It's
I've
very
studied and read a
shallow.
lot of this stuff. Yes, it's
It's very
incredibly
shallow.
shallow.
It's very shallow. Like, oh, I have to see myself on screen. Listen, I'm not saying that there is no value whatsoever, that there's different people on a screen. I'm not saying there's no value, but you can't just sit, all these Hollywood studios, they don't even have a script. You know what I'm saying? When
Yeah.
people don't mention this, and since we're talking about Star Wars, I remember that there was like a leak of the casting calls for Kenobi prior to the show when it was being produced. And they basically said there, this character has to be a BIPOC, which I don't even know if before I read that, I knew what a BIPOC was.
Yeah.
I had to ask somebody what that was. I guess it's Black Indigenous Person of Color. And the fact that like they've limited it, I mean, what was so special about Reva's character that it had to be a BIPOC, that this was decided years in advance? You know what I mean? Like, what was so important that that character couldn't have been auditioned, just different backgrounds?
Sure.
Why did it have to be that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
The real answer is money.
Yeah.
DEI stuff, you
It's
think?
it's DI ESG stuff. If you want to, and they've even talked about this some. Of course, we saw some today
Today with
of
James
these
O'Keefe,
DEI
yeah.
files. Yes, from James O'Keefe, and it's sort of not brought to light. I think a lot of this stuff was already known. We already kind of knew this was going on, but maybe has solidified it for some people that yes, there are financial incentives for people within Disney to hire people of color for their jobs under them. They will get bonuses if they fill those roles with people who are not white, who are not straight, who are a variety of different things. But it is it's financially motivated in a lot of different ways. And a lot of that comes down to any number of different groups that have encouraged these things. If you go back and you listen to Larry Fink, who's the head of BlackRock, talking about how you can't expect your employees, you can't expect your the companies that you invest in to change their behaviors. You have to force it, right?
Can I tell you how disappointed I am in the fact that people are so easily manipulated by top-down scumbags?
It
It's
is
like
unfortunate.
corporations saying, "Oh yeah, you need to do this, and then we'll give you money." And I find it unbelievable how easily influenced the human race is. But at the same time, I'm not shocked by it. Not to talk about it too much, but I'll just say it, my brother worked on some of the last best Disney movies, like Wreck-It Ralph, the first one, not the
Yeah.
second one. He did environmentals and stuff like that. A number of years ago, I want to say like 2000, oh gosh, 18ish. They were doing these mandatory weekly meetings that you had to attend that basically told you how terrible you were for being white. At some point, he was like, "We're leaving," and he moved out of California and quit his Disney job. But he'd worked on like Tangled and Princess and the Frog, and like right around the end of the best Disney movies, and it's so frustrating. Like it was like around Moana and stuff like that, and he's like, I just can't deal with this. I can't deal with being told that I'm racist just for being white and having to attend these meetings. So they left, and I'm sure they're much happier, but I don't know where I was going with this. It's just
Yeah.
awful. It's awful all over.
I did want to show you this Anne Boleyn thing. I mean, does she
Yeah,
look
go
like
ahead.
Anne Boleyn? I'm not trying to be mean. I want to be open-minded. It's a period piece, right? It's a historical drama.
Yes.
I'm asking an objective question. Do you think that she looks like Anne Boleyn?
So I think a fair trial of this is if you just said, or just showed the image and said, "What do you think this is about?" I don't think Anne Boleyn would ever come up as a guess.
I don't think so either. Professor?
Yeah, no. Anne Boleyn would not be the first thing that would come to mind.
And even doing this reminds me of stuff we saw also in Doctor Who, that they arrive and Isaac Newton is from India. It's like,
I didn't hear
Oh, yeah.
that.
Yeah,
yeah, no, that happened. That happened. They met Isaac Newton and he was from India. Why was he from India? I don't know. And to
Okay.
make matters worse, the doctor discovered that he was gay and that he was attracted to him in the same episode that they met him.
Is that the guy that he married? That's all I've heard in the last week. I've been busy.
What,
married, engaged, something of that nature. Yes, that happened. Yeah, it's. I mean, you have plenty of other shows, plenty of other media that has had this problem. It's by no means something that's cropped up only in the past year. You have several other things. I think you've got. I do not watch this, but I've been told that Bridgerton has a number of people of color in a time where there would be
yes, they totally
absolutely nobody.
absolutely they do that. Yes, but
They did the same in that Doctor Who episode as well. There's an entire court of people dancing around, and there's any number of different people of color that are there. And I'm sorry, yes, I know that's what LA looks like. Maybe that's what London looks like, but that's not what it looked like in the 1800s.
No, and it's a time travel show. A time travel show only works if they travel to that time and at least some effort is made for it to look like they're in the time that they travel to. If they're going to just travel and see like the LA of today because they traveled in time, there's no point in all the time travel. There's no point to it.
I think this comes back to what's her face from the Acolyte. The younger I might just be getting old and jaded, but I feel like young people are just stupid. So like expecting them to realize that like generation after generation had a specific look and a specific way of acting is like almost too much for them to comprehend.
I actually, Stephen Max of the BBC are obsessed with this now. And now I'm going to say something that's really going to shock everybody. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I'm going to tell you all something very personal. There's a show that I watch that is somewhat of a guilty pleasure, and that's
Gilmore Girls.
Father Brown, the BBC show with the priest that solves crime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know why I watched it, but I actually think that the original, like the earlier seasons, there's a sense of fun and kind of it's lighthearted and there's something a bit fun and lighthearted about it. I'm not saying that you're going to watch it and think that this is like, award-winning stuff, but it's fun. And the original seasons, it's about a priest, a father in the 1950s in England in a small town, and he solves crimes and stuff, and usually has a few ladies of the parish working with him. And it's pretty good for whatever it is, those earlier seasons, and the cast is certainly fine. But if you look at the last number of seasons, suddenly in the 1950s, you see a bunch of people that are very diverse walking around this small town. And listen, there is no chance that in 1950s in England, all these people from, I don't know, Nigeria, where they showed up, it just doesn't make sense. They wouldn't be there. I don't see it happening. I'm not trying to be mean. It's not that I'm saying, do you get what I mean?
Yeah. I totally. And again, I think it seems like so much of this goes back to this obsession, an absolute obsession with representation on screen, and this whole idea that you cannot feel something for a character, or you cannot, in any way, understand what that character is going through unless they look exactly like you.
Is that a result of people not reading enough, not being exposed enough to books growing up?
It's a philosophy, and I think that I heard Russell T Davies, the showrunner of Doctor Who, mention it somewhere. They just have their philosophy of like, F it, we'll just put some other diversity here. Who cares? We can do whatever we want. You know what I mean? It's diverse, and obviously we didn't have that diversity then, so we're just going to do it now. We'll correct history, but it's like
I can't tell you how much people wanting to correct history gets under my skin.
I don't like it either.
And that is a direct result from reading 1984.
First of all, if you don't respect the history, then people are going to forget it. There's bad things that happen in history, and you don't want them to happen again. So learning about the bad things and sort of growing from there, I don't think that's a bad thing. To try to pretend something else happened, that to me is disrespectful to people that maybe were discriminated against or something like that.
Harmful as a species. That's not. It's gonna kill you in the long run.
But regardless, for me, if it's like a modern show, you're doing a modern police station, a modern town where there's a modern priest that wants to solve crimes, and it's happening in 2024, and he walks into a village and it's totally diverse, sure. I'll never say that there's any kind of, something weird about that. That makes perfect sense. But for a priest in a small town with that looks like a handful of people in the 1950s in some village in England, that amount of diversity does not add up. And it starts becoming really sticking out like a sore thumb. And not only that, they start doing the thing where if there's a suspect and he's diverse, then you probably think that he's not the killer. Things like that, what I mean?
Yeah, it's so prevalent that you're like, oh, look, brown, black, brown, white. Oh, it's the white guy.
It's the white guy.
Yeah, it's the butler. It's the butler motif that just reimagined.
It's
the butler did it. The white guy did it.
So DJ Pleena's got to roll out. Thanks for hosting. Thanks for being here, DJ. A person I think didn't leave one comment until now, but on their way out,
Thanks for hanging out, DJ.
Yeah, on their way out, they made their presence known.
I like it. It's more than my streams get.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there's just this obsession now. And again, a lot of this comes from a variety of different theories that have been infiltrating our culture for some time now. Critical theory being one of them, queer theory being some other. And it's very frustrating because, again, this obsession with representation. I have a little story that I tell when I talk about this, when I mention this and where this is discussed. Not 2-3 years ago, I was waiting to pick up my son from school. And so I was sitting out front, and it's in a neighborhood, and it actually was at the time, his school was in a fairly, poor neighborhood. And while I was waiting for him, across the street was a young black boy, cute as hell, playing out in his yard, which first of all, that's amazing. So many kids don't even play outside anymore. But he was out playing in his yard, and he was dressed up like Captain America.
Nah.
This was before Endgame. This was before you had handed off the shield to Falcon, and now he's Captain America, supposedly. So he clearly saw himself as a hero, saw himself in the heroism of Captain America.
Yeah.
So how is it that that's supposedly not possible, right? How could he possibly see himself in a white man who played Captain America? Well, because he saw somebody who stood for values, who was a hero, who was strong, who was capable, who was protecting other people. And he wanted to be that person. And so he was outside dressed up. I mean, we're not talking just playing around with a shield. He had a Halloween costume on that he clearly loved because he had worn it a bunch and it was pretty torn up, and he had a little shield and he was playing as Captain America. That doesn't tell me that representation is absolutely necessary for that kid to learn useful things, to learn values from a Marvel movie. He didn't have to see Captain America as a black man in order to learn that.
I don't remember exactly what she said, but one of the earliest things I saw Kathleen Kennedy post that got under my skin, all I could think for a response was, "It's called empathy, KK, you dumb bitch." It's like how do we? And it was all along the same lines. Like, how can you have a movie that people can't see themselves in? And it's like, because you're a human being.
Yeah.
Like, you have empathy. You project your brain onto this character. So, like, even if you're effing Kunta Kinte from Roots, you know what it feels. Well, you can imagine what it feels like to be whipped. It's like, are you insane? Do you not understand how humanity works?
Yeah, empathy. It's empathy for your fellow human beings.
It's
Empathy should not be something that's segregated. I should not be
Exactly.
only feeling empathy or only caring about or only registering understanding between characters based on the color of their skin. It's incredibly sad, to be honest.
It is willful. What is it? A willful stupidity or willful ignorance. All of these people are willfully ignoring that we're all freaking human beings that are capable of these emotions, and they're all doing it for a freaking power grab. It sickens me, honestly.
Yeah.
And
especially
also,
at the
they're-
expense of my favorite things.
they're trying to sort of claiming to battle something by doing that very thing that they claim that they're battling, and that's
Yes,
really the part
it's
that's like the ultimate
false
loop of
virtue.
hypocrisy.
Exactly.
It is.
You don't like people, making generalizations. You don't like people discriminating. Yet the response of what you perceive or what, and again, we're not in the 50s anymore. In the 1950s, I think that this thing started in the past 5 to 7 years, they started pushing all of these things. Just when I think things were continuing to evolve in a positive way, that's when seems like the powers that be really wanted there to be this tension and really putting in people's mind that it's okay to discriminate, it's okay to make generalizations as long as it's against white people.
And it's so racist.
Yep.
And it all comes from white people.
Right.
And white corporations, pushing
Yeah.
it top down.
The hypocrisy here is off the charts. And even with it's as if
abusive power grab.
With Amanda Stenberg in this song, there's a few elements that have come back. Not only is it the like we said, Kelly Marie Tran and the Moses Ingram situation, it also had a little kind of callback to Christine Ariel or whatever his name, Christy Ariel, there was that girl that Lucasfilm hired to be the host of the High Republic. It's some YouTube videos that they talked about the High Republic that 5 people read and nobody liked.
Yeah.
So she was
I
the host of
think I
that,
remember her face, and then
right?
she immediately left my brain.
And then that girl that was the host of it, it turned out that on her Twitter page there were comments in the past that she had said against white people. So at the time, I think John F. Trent, who was at the time with Bounding into Comics, he just put an article where he showed her old tweets and said, "Look at all the things she said," and people were sharing it, and it became like a really kind of viral thing, and everybody was looking at the article, and again, Lucasfilm at the time had more control over what happens in Twitter, and a narrative was really pushed that, like, no, the reason Bounding into Comics said that is because they're ists and they're phobes, not because she had any bad intentions. And this is the same thing now with the white people in this comment and Amanda Stenberg. It's just a bunch of ists and phobes that wanted to twist this around. She loves white people. She loves them, and we all twisted it around because we're ists and phobes. And in the same breath of her saying that, she also talks about how she's been oppressed for 400 years.
Yeah.
Can I tell you?
With her Danish father who's white and seems to have money, apparently.
Yeah.
Every time I watch the Superman movie and they talk about what a pure source for truth and justice the Daily Planet is, in my brain, up until I was 40, let's just say 40, that's what I thought the media and the newspapers were supposed to be. When Donald Trump got elected and he called them false news, they all rose to the occasion. I'm not making political statements here, but I cannot believe how far on both sides the mask fell off and my world was just blown away. I'm just so shocked still. In my head, we're still the Daily Planet striving for truth and justice.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
It'd be amazing to hold
Oh.
everyone accountable for their actions.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry to make you sad.
No, yeah, no, it's just, yeah. On one side, right? I think a lot of us have this feeling like all we can do is just be the best we can be, right?
That's all I'm gonna do.
And on the other side, we feel like there's so little point. Like if you feel like there's so much against you, so much around, so many tribes, so many different interest groups and everything that you just want it just seems to keep getting more tribal and more crazy and more loud. And what can you do? I guess you go on Rumble and YouTube and talk about it.
I can tell you that I mentioned my 1904 farmhouse without heat or air. That's been my whole life, just trying to be the best I can. And that came from, a great dad, and also positive fictional role models, honestly, through like Luke Skywalker and stuff like, and Batman and Flash Gordon and Indiana Jones, and I won't say Conan because he's a savage, but no, I had really great stories and a really great dad to push me to do the crap that I don't want to do. I don't want to be doing the whatever crappy job I have to do at 43, but I'm gonna do it because that's what you do, and that's how you live, that's how you survive, that's how you push forward.
Yeah. Yep. All we can really do is just be the best that we can be and just stick to our guns, stick to our values, And I was raised. I lost my father when I was very young, so I did not have that role model in the house. But I had lots of other role models around me. Some of those role models were on television, like James T. Kirk.
Mhm.
Some of those role models were other members of my family, or other people in our community, or in our church, or whatever. But I was raised to believe basically what today would be the common humanity view. We're all people. We all have to share where we are on this planet. We all have to live together. And it really was a very colorblind kind of way of growing up. That's what we thought.
Mhm.
And I understand people saying, well, you can't do that, because there's oh well, this group has faced this oppression, or this group is discriminated against by some people. And so I totally do understand that. I know that there are groups of people in the world that are discriminated against by some people. I worked at a job briefly. We lived in me and my wife lived in Alabama, and I worked a job while I was there. It wasn't a great job, but it was a job. And I had was working and doing some management. I had a manager. I was the assistant manager at this storage place, and we needed to hire someone new to run the front desk. And I was looking through all the applications, and I kind of signed off on them, and I handed them to my boss. And she looked him over and she said, well, these are some great recommendations and I appreciate your comments, but you need to understand that the owners will not hire someone. They will not hire a black person to run the front desk.
It's rough.
What? I'm sorry. What? No, they won't. They will not. You can recommend it, but it's probably just going to get you fired.
Oh.
You can't, they're not going to hire someone. And I'm like, how can they even get away with that? And she said, well, they hire lots of black people in service jobs, working in restaurants and stuff like that, but they will not hire anyone black who is customer facing in their businesses.
Yeah.
This is about a decade ago.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
There are things there is injustice. I'm not saying that there's
Absolutely
that everything is good in the world, but I think that if the idea is that just to say, hey, we hate all the white people, you're not going to highlight whatever that discrimination is, and
Sure.
you're not going to have allies for real that'll try to help you overcome it. I think that we were heading in a good place as a society. I think that it mattered to a lot of people to strive for equality. There's always going to be some bad people, but I feel like the general direction felt positive to me, and now it couldn't feel worse than what it does now. I want to just read this comment. Price, I just watched The Bike Riders, and I have the same feelings about the accent choices you did, but overall, I thought it was a good film, 7 out of 10. I actually saw an advanced screening of that Bike Riders thing on Monday, and I mentioned it on a stream the other day that I thought that the accents that both Tom Hardy and Jodie Comer do, maybe because they're British and maybe because they're just trying too hard, seem just a bit over the top, like they're trying too hard. And that was something that kind of distracted me in the movie, but overall it wasn't a terrible movie. It's not like a slam dunk 10 out of 10, but I think that 7 out of 10 is a fair assessment for this movie. I think it's fine. And thank you for listening to my reviews and commenting. I appreciate that. Ayav Nodik.
Yeah.
Also,
that's the oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go on. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that's the historical or sort of semi-historical thing. It's kind of talking about how biker gangs kind of got started.
Right. It's basically it's
clubs
not
and stuff.
It's loosely based on stories and things, but not like really on specific people. But I think that the movie does kind of explain, and that's what it sets out to do, how maybe all this motorcycle stuff, it started off with just some guys that enjoyed riding bikes and talking about their bikes and hanging out, and it was like more innocent, and over time it just spiraled into something. It grew with like chapters, and suddenly you have all these criminals showing up, and it shifted from this kind of cool thing that guys do together to like criminal activity gangs. And I think that the movie attempts to sort of show how it started and how it transitioned into that. To say that it does like a miraculous job, I don't know, but I thought the movie was at least interesting. It was something original. It wasn't just the same sequel as a seventh sequel to some tired IP. At least somebody tried to do something different, and the budget was $40 million, so that they actually have a chance of making a profit, which I also like.
I rode a motorcycle for 6 years straight, and my dad was a Harley mechanic for most of my life. Uh, anytime there's a Harley movie or motorcycle movie, I'm interested in seeing it. I only just saw like a poster for it like a week ago though, and I guess it just came out.
I think it came out today. Like I said, I saw it on Monday. I've been kind of busy over the past few weeks, so in other times maybe I'd push out a review, like an official one, sooner if I didn't have time. But I did talk about the movie on a few different streams, I think. So I assume that that's where he saw the comment. I also liked this comment before. Rida Ibn Muhammad says, I do not understand representation, and I do not feel better if I see someone with my skin color in Hollywood. If I want an Arab movie, I can watch tons of Middle East films. And I agree.
Yeah.
Uh,
You should be able to feel empathy and connect with characters that do not look like you. And I know that that's possible because I've done it. I've been there myself. When I saw oh goodness, the name of the movie just escaped me. A Civil War movie about the Black Regiment.
Glory.
Glory, yes.
Glory. We watched that in high school. It was wonderful.
Yes. When I first saw that movie, I was moved to tears. Denzel Washington,
fantastic as always.
Was incredible. Just thinking about it, I'm getting a little misty-eyed here. His performance was incredible, and I felt how hurt and how devastated, how crushed his spirit was. And to see him connecting with other people and see him sort of regaining that from the others around him was beautiful. And it was a fantastic film with an amazing performance.
There was a quote from that I used to think about for years. I can't remember what it is. I'll have to look it up later. Sorry.
By the way, if you're wondering what that picture is, I want to explain why I shared that picture. Do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this one will be a difficult one to dance around with. I probably shouldn't even talk about this, but I don't know why this intrigues me. This is Joshua Jackson. He started off, I think, as a hockey player in Mighty Ducks. He was the kid.
Mm-hmm.
And today, I don't know what he does, but originally he was married to Jodie Turner-Smith on the left. But then recently he left her and immediately was seen with Lupita Nyong'o, who is now his girlfriend, I guess.
Was she from The Force Awakens? Was she...
She played the orange butthole.
Thank you. Yeah. I wasn't going to say it. Butthole eyes. Okay.
Right.
She seems like a nice person from what I've seen.
I actually, it's going to be... See, I want to say something, and I don't know if I should say it. What do you guys think? Should I say what I think?
Yes, of course.
Go for it.
I feel like I understand what Joshua Jackson was thinking here. He basically, he seems to have a certain taste in women,
mm-hmm.
and he thought to himself, maybe, he decided to go in a different direction.
Can I say the one on the left is way more dolled up. I'm more of a natural guy. So if you got a choice between two women that are really dolled up, I would totally go with the other choice.
I mean, Lupita Nyong'o.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to speak ill of Jodie Turner-Smith. I'm just saying that Joshua Jackson weighed his options. That's the decision that he made.
They're very, very close in body type, so you gotta say that personality goes a long way in this case.
Yeah, I mean,
It's got to. It's not like he traded in for a younger model. Jodie Turner
no,
Smith is
it's like
younger than Lupita.
it's
So,
like a lateral move in a way because
yeah.
they're basically around the same age. They have somewhat similar appearance, background, or
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it. And
build.
yet that's what he felt that he needed to do. And there's a part of me, and this is the part that I don't know if it's okay to say, that I kind of understand him.
Well,
He seems to have a type.
the pictures can be unfair. If I'm basing it based on this picture, Lupita, what's her name? I forget. Lupita
Nyong'o.
She looks so much more pleasant in this image.
She has a good vibe. That's the thing. That's the thing. She has a good vibe. I'm gonna say this: Jodie Turner Smith. Anytime that like they interview her, anytime she like does something or says something, there's always this kind of vibe that's kind of not as pleasant. Lupita Nyong'o, she always like seems so pleasant.
I only saw a few things of her from Force Awakens, and I hate that character, but I always thought she was nice.
You know what the stupid thing is? She's very pretty, and why didn't, with all their diversity bullshit, at the end they had an actual actress that's good actress. I think she's like an Academy Award winner. She looks nice. She is diverse. Give her something to do in the movie.
Exactly.
And then they're like, "What are we going to do with her?" Okay, I got it. Leave it to J.J. Abrams. He's like, "I got it. I got this." Orange butthole.
Exactly.
Only J.J. Abrams
This
like
will or what is it? A story for another time. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
And then later, like after like 2020, he's like, "Enough is enough." With all this white privilege, it's like, dude, you had a black woman that looked nice. You made her an orange butthole. You're really not in a position to lecture me.
So I only saw like the headline from the it's not Veritas anymore, right? He got like kicked out of his own company. The Disney reveal that happened today. I was working, but like, we're not gonna hire white men, and I'm like, so give up your job, asshole. Like, no, none of these assholes ever do that. Like J.J. Abrams, well, give away your millions, you jerk. They're like, oh no, I want white privilege to end, but after me. And I was like, well, then shut the hell up.
Kivo, how's it going? Says, I like my coffee like I like my women, cold and bitter. And
that's most of them.
Rida Ibn Muhammad says, yes, and that's like that. Yes. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I got this Jodie Turner Smith all wrong, but man, does she have this kind of condescending, annoying vibe, in my opinion, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that was that. And then let me think for a second. You know, I was going to talk with Dread about Sweet Baby Ink destroying Wolverine. Do you guys know anything about this?
No, man. I have a life. I have to work and make money.
I'm going to quickly try to pull this up.
Anything specific to that game?
If you had asked me 2 weeks ago, I could have told you everything everyone else is saying on YouTube. But like, suddenly I have to get a job.
No, but that's something new. Just so you know that Dreadroberts is really on top of his game.
He is
when it comes to this kind of stuff. That's why I usually bring it up, because I know I have a guy that has such great insight.
I'm so sorry that I'm so recently ill-informed.
Yeah, there's something specific that's come out about Sweet Baby Ink and Wolverine, because I knew they were involved. I knew they were involved with them.
I see that Grums is talking about. We know that Sweet Baby Ink is involved with Marvel's Wolverine. We know this because Sweet Baby's own tweet, and because the narrative director for Insomniac's Wolverine game ran to the defense of SWI. So I guess they're making a Wolverine game, and Sweet Baby Ink are going to quote unquote consult on how to make this game really, really good in their opinion.
Uh-huh.
So I guess that was the general direction of
He's
it.
gonna shoot out his claws, and 3 lesbians will come flying out or something.
There'll be
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for the day that like Sweet Baby Inc. Contributed to the narrative of a game, and everybody loves it. It's like, and either people find out that they're involved and then they see the game and it turns out that it's crap, or it's crap and it turns out they were involved. I've never seen a case where they weren't involved. They were involved, nobody knew, and everybody loved the game, and they're like, "Oh, we got you." They were involved. Never happened.
I honestly think the biggest problem with that is that, like, humans associate things in groups. So, like, I know that Sweet Baby Inc. is like the main focal point of contention, especially after shooting Batman. Like, I don't think you could ever mess up as bad as killing, especially Kevin Conroy as Batman, and expect to recover. But there's several other companies that do these things, right? They all consult and they all ruin everything. But we're so hive-minded, focused on one specific company, that I hate to think that all these other ones fall through the cracks.
Yeah, it's like you were saying. Yeah, let's wait for that game that they've been involved in that really starts raking in the critical
all they
reviews.
need one win. They just need
Yeah,
one win.
just
Bring me
one.
that one win they have.
But yeah, they were definitely involved in Insomniac's previous game, Spider-Man 2, which had a whole bunch of issues, complaints that came up about that one. I know there were issues with the appearance of Mary Jane, how they had changed the facial model for that. There were issues with there's a mission that you are essentially required to do as Miles Morales, where you have to help. You don't get a choice. If you want to complete the mission, you have to help this gay couple get together.
Get together?
Yes.
Save them?
If
you said it was a gay couple that you have to save from being killed, I'd be
no.
okay,
You have to help one of them basically propose a date to the other one, if I remember correctly. Of course, there were some other complaints about that game, specifically that people relate back to them being involved. But overall, it just wasn't really a great game. And it was incredibly frustrating because I know that a lot of traditional Spider-Man fans would say, there's Peter Parker and there's Miles Morales. That Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Miles Morales is a Spider-Man, but he's Miles Morales. And you know what? That's cool. They can both be there. They can both exist, and they can both be great characters. Miles Morales can be a great character, but in this particular game, they made Spider-Man, they made Peter Parker very kind of weak and indecisive. And in the end of the game, it's been out for a while, spoilers everybody, but at the end of the game, he gives up being Spider-Man because he says, well, this town already has a Spider-Man. We've got you. So they don't need me, right? You go do it.
Or Peter
no, that's what Peter says. He tells Miles, you're the Spider-Man they need now. And yeah.
Wait, this is Jean Grey. This is really.
So this, yeah. So we were talking about it. So I kind of looked around real quick. So yeah, this is from that park place, where it looks like there was some data, I guess, that was stolen there by some outfit that got a hold of some of the data from Insomniac Games from early builds of the game, and that is the Jean Grey in the early build of the game.
That looks awful. I really hope this isn't the final version because this looks terrible.
And people say, oh well, you're being too sensitive. Your standards of beauty are too high or whatever.
No, she's in her 50s or 60s here.
That character has been beaten with the ugly stick. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, this looks bad.
Yeah,
it's bad. That's really bad.
I'm hoping that this is some kind of like just initial sketch, and at the end, like they
really
want it to be different. But
I
Really doesn't look
guarantee
good.
you that is end product.
But it's in line with some of the stuff that Insomniac has done. We know that Insomniac is in bed with Sweet Baby Inc. And that they are making changes to their games. They
Oh, and
are giving
Insomniac,
input that
they
they are.
basically released there was a cyber attack against them, and they love all the support
Yeah.
they're getting.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if support is the right word, but sorry, go on. Didn't mean to cut
No,
you off.
it's just the same same stuff over and over again. I mean, it's after Spider-Man 2. I have absolutely no interest in buying this Wolverine game, and there's a lot of AAA titles that I've seen just repeatedly. There's any number of different games that they've been previewing. There's recently the what was the name of that game? It was just previewed the other day. Dragon Age, that was it. Yeah, the Dragon Age. Big fan of the Dragon Age games. They've gotten kind of put in the back seat under a lot of the other stuff that EA and their team have been making over there. So I was kind of fascinated. Oh, there's going to be a new Dragon Age. Sounds great. And then they start talking about how, every single companion in the game is going to be pansexual. So you can date any of the characters, despite whether you play the game as a male or a female or whatever you play the game as. You can date all of these characters, and then if you don't, they'll start dating each other.
Oh wow, that is so stupid. The thing is, it's stupid, and I believe you. That's the sad part. It sounds like this is the dumbest thing I ever heard, and I know that this is really happening. Like I 100% believe it.
You know what? If you're going to have characters that in the game that have different inclinations, that's fine. I don't care. But
no, but they're so obsessed. They're so every single game. Sean, I feel like we've broken Sean. I don't know. This is it for Sean. Sean was sitting really quietly and like patiently, but now that's it. He's like the Joker, like having like right before right after he climbed out of that acid pool.
And we're just making it worse. Poor Sean. Yeah, but yeah, if you're gonna have characters with different sexual identities in your game, fine, whatever. I mean, it's gotten crazy. It's a little overkill, but yeah, now I mean, it feels like this is the logical progression, right? We're going to go from, okay, well, yeah, if you're playing as a male character, there's some male characters that are gays that you can romance or whatever. If you're playing as a female, there's maybe some female characters that are inclined that way. You can date them. But now just saying,
when is it
every
so important,
character,
the sexuality of all these characters all the time?
I know, right?
So fucking annoying.
It's this, there's this hyper focus, this obsession with
I'm so happy
you're a certain race, you're a certain, your sexual identity is the most important thing about you. And I got to be honest, if your sexual identity is the most interesting thing about you, you have got to be a really boring ass person.
I love seeing Sean this happy. I don't remember seeing Sean laugh so hard. I don't know, what is it? The gay characters in the game? What is it that broke Sean?
You made a game that is so gay that the characters will date each other without your input. You made a game that requires no input. I don't know. I don't have words to express how funny that is. And I feel like philosophically, there is a stand-up routine.
They have to get their agenda. They have to get their agenda across. They'll do it in any means possible.
So hilariously stupid and over the top and like grabby that I feel like I can't even laugh hard enough at. The characters, if you don't date them, will date each other. Like, think about that statement. That is so insane.
Well, they have needs.
That makes me think of like, what was it, like 10 years ago, 12 years ago? I used to do video game testing. and someone came up with the thought like it was something about like the rights of NPCs, and if you kill an NPC, you should be punished for it. And I was like, what are we even talking about? These aren't real. This isn't real. What is happening? I'm sorry. I feel like the statement that the NPCs will date each other is so hilariously stupid to us as a culture. I can't even express it enough. Do it enough justice. I'm sorry. I'll be quiet.
No, it's fine.
It
It's
is-
fine. I'm trying to see what else here. But no, the Sweet Baby Ink, anytime they're attached to something, you know how it's going to turn out.
We are so absolutely privileged as a society. The nonsense that we concern ourselves with. And each generation will build on that privilege and have
Oh.
no idea of how easy they have it.
Absolutely. It is so much about that there is now in our lives, we live such lives of ease that we have to make up things to suffer.
I used to
we
carry
have to
firewood.
invent. Yeah.
My dad gave my oldest brother, I was like 3 years old. My dad handed my brother, my oldest brother, we're like 4 years apart. I have 2 older brothers. He handed my oldest brother a hatchet and said, go get us firewood. We came back with like saplings. So anytime anyone complains to me about anything, I'm like, have you ever stacked firewood? Shut the freak up.
Oh,
Yeah, I was just looking up some of the quotes from the announcements for the Dragon Age game, and there's some amazing stuff. One of the developers was talking and saying that the game is inherently very queer, and it's such a rare thing for marginalized communities to have representation where we feel proud and powerful in how we are depicted.
Especially in 2024 when when every corporation heralds us with a logo that has rainbow colors in it that we
Yes.
drop at the first of the next month.
Yeah, well, and it's the whole Pride Month thing, and the I believe on another stream I referred to it as the month of corporate obligation, because they just it's entirely signaling. It's all it is. It's all it is.
And it's sick. Like, if you want to believe, I have no problem with you believing in a cause, but like, when you just use it to money grub and BS people and put other people down, that's where I find you disgusting. Sorry.
no, it's okay, man. This is a late
getting
night.
late, and I'm
No. These are the most interesting parts of the show. You know, people just kind of say their thoughts. It's a late night thing, and these are your opinions, and you're allowed to have them.
Like, I've never been. I feel like I've been very liberal most of my life, until the point where just one day I was like, everyone has gone insane. And like all the things that I used to like be like okay with, now I'm starting to get annoyed with.
It's unfortunate because I think that in the past, and that's why I was saying, and this kind of brings us back to what we were talking about before, that we're taking steps backwards. That
Mhm.
back in the day, things were advancing however they were advancing, but there were good people that I had hoped that I was one of them that wanted
Yeah.
things to be, inclusive and not that people get treated like crap. But the fact that I wanted that doesn't mean that I thought it's okay to say all white people are bad. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that wasn't any part of the thing that I ever thought as a solution to anything. I didn't think it was a solution then, and I don't think it's a solution now.
It's just that we all underestimated how I don't want to say greedy, power hungry people are at their core.
I
it's like
feel like
I
I
am
suspected.
shocked by it. Well, you suspect it. I am shocked by how corrupt and power hungry people are.
Well,
Yeah,
hopefully that means that you're assuming the best of people around you. But yeah,
But
it
I'm a
is.
total pessimist.
Oh man, yeah, I get accused of being a pessimist a lot, and I just say no. I'm a realist. That's
Yeah,
what I am.
yeah.
But no, it's yeah, you do feel that, and you see it a lot. You know, a lot of this stuff that has to do with you know all this sort of new move towards segregating things, very tribal stuff. It is all about power.
And you
It's about
watch
how you control others.
and you watch videos from the 60s of people being fire hosed and attacked by dogs, and you're like, this is sickening that people are like
True.
co-opting this. Like actual people suffered through this to do something better. And you're just you're fucking negating like all of this.
To pretend that today that you are worse off than those people then, right? Because of the color of your skin, because of that racism is now worse. And again, like I said, I think there's this relativism that's snuck in that now they don't have a lot of other things actually making their life miserable. They don't have to worry about food every day. They don't
Mhm.
have to worry about, for the most part, a lot of these people don't have to worry about money. They don't have to worry about their health care in a lot of cases. Some cases, maybe they do. I don't know. But, it's there's so many things that for them, they no longer have to worry about. Some of them, I feel like they literally have to invent something to introduce some kind of suffering into their life. Like it just inherently has to be there. And so microaggressions, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, well, you said that something, right? And that made me feel bad. You hurt my feelings. It's like, okay, so I hurt your feelings. You could either sit there and call me out and call me names and tell me I'm a bigot or whatever, or you could say, that thing you said, it really kind of hurt my feelings, and here's why. Would you mind maybe not using that word or saying something like there's this divide now that we can't even try to understand each other. Right.
2012-ish. I don't know if I'm going to give I don't know if I'm going to be able to give this train of thought any justice. In like 2012, I had a lot of clips on my iPod which I still use. Um and it was like scientific guys talking about our need to expand to space, our continued need as a species to dream. Neil deGrasse Tyson, before he annoyed the crap out of me, had a speech to Congress talking about humanity's need to dream and to reach into the future. We are, even Carl Sagan is like, he's like, we're a race of explorers. We're not meant to just sit in one place. Sorry if my voice is going. I'm trying to be quiet for my wife.
No, it's okay. It adds kind of a spooky, mysterious vibe.
Woo. There was like a parallel because I went back to school when I turned 30 for my master's. I used it as an excuse to get to California to try and get any kind of creative job. That didn't work out. So, but I always thought like there is a pride in people for doing a decent job, working towards something, and uh, people want something to strive for. And the space program obviously is as much as we continue to expand with our technology. I still think that space is the next answer. We're going on we're spinning our tires right now with all of this BS. And if we really want to get anywhere with ourselves as a society, it's hard to whisper. We should be looking towards space. So, like Elon Musk, whether you like him or not, him saying we should go to Mars, and I'm like, yeah, we should go to Mars. We should go to Mars. We should go to the next place. We should go to the next place. I think we need this continuous thing to strive for. And if we're just stuck here spinning our weird wheels in a races amok, we're never going to get anywhere. And I was thinking that in the context of movies and cartoons back in 2012 when George sold Star Wars, and it just became everything that I hated. and it was like, we're going the wrong direction, George. Thanks. Thanks. You could have given this to any other person to just run and let your family live off of, and then whatever happens in the future. But no, you got to sell it to like the worst corporation on the planet, and none of us knew that he was gonna, or that that corporation would turn into like the antichrist of all of positive social change for the last 90 years or so. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm babbling now.
No, it's okay, man. You shared your thoughts, and
it's a really big subject to talk about.
It is,
right? It's
It
a
is.
really big subject. There's a lot of things that relate to it. I saw Empress NM in the chat was saying kind of fallen into our own navels, and it's a really great way to. And I think part of that is so many people, and of course, we were mentioning, people like the age of Amanda Stenberg. They grew up just completely engrossed in social media. And I genuinely think that has been a massive problem for young people, not just in the United States, but around the world, but especially true in the US and the UK, some of the more wealthy countries. And you really can, if you look at the research, if you look at the numbers, you can see all of these mental health issues and all sorts of other problems that became prominent. They started to trend upwards, at least when iPhones became cheap enough that people could afford it, that everybody could afford to have one, and people started giving them to their kids and so on. And I think that the discourse, the very disconnected discourse that we have through social media has in a lot of ways been a detriment. We all hoped it was going to be something great for us, right? We all hoped it was going to be something that was going to democratize all of these things, kind of like we thought the internet was going to do. And instead it's become completely it's this entirely selfish thing. Like it's all about how you look on social media, how you present yourself on social media, what kind of following you have, and so on. And it's for us, how I wish for us to have something to look forward to, something to inspire us, like traveling to the stars. Wouldn't that would be something amazing?
That's the only thing that's going to solve so many problems in my brain. It's like, it's like, why won't people learn? Well, give them something to learn for. Give them a goal to strive for. I saw a thing the other day. I don't know how true it is, but it was like, I don't know if it's myopia. Kids are developing blindness at an early age because they're staring at screens from an early age. And I'm like, oh yeah, I totally believe that. Like nearsightedness that turns into blindness. Like I could see this being like a Star Trek episode.
Well, they told us as kids not to sit too close to the television, and at this, but at the same time, we didn't spend 12 hours a day with our eyes locked on that screen either.
I went to get a sandwich at the grocery store, and there's a little kid like 2 years old in the shopping cart holding a phone like this, and I was like, "Oh, is that how it happens?"
Probably.
Probably. Sorry, Price. I don't mean to derail your stream.
No, not at all. This is the part of the stream that I actually wanted to hear people weigh in. I like that you weighed in. I talked for a whole lot and without many breaks, and other people on the show, they should also talk. So I'm happy. I like listening to your opinions. And I think people in the chat also enjoyed it. E. Clay Thompson, why does everybody want to rush to other planets when there are a ton of places here on Earth yet to be discovered, especially in the deep ocean? Sorry.
So I get that argument, but
Yeah, well, surprisingly, the deep oceans are actually a lot harder to explore
yeah,
than it
Others.
is to explore space.
yeah.
Deep space, even getting to Mars, that is going to be massively challenging. But unfortunately, most of the ocean is so deep. I mean, we saw some of the issues that have happened. We saw that submarine that was going down to the Titanic, was it last year, that imploded. It's incredibly expensive. Technologically, it's incredibly difficult to explore those deep depths. The materials that we have as human beings to build these vessels to go down there are actually not adequate to the job. Versus going out into space, we actually have the materials there. But I mean, new material science, new things happen. But yeah, I would love to see more exploration here on Earth too. I would love for us to just go back to the moon. Just
Mhm.
go back to the moon. Let's have a moon base there.
One has to wonder if we were even there.
Oh,
I mean,
don't even do that to me, Price.
yeah.
I'm American that loves apple pie and
Listen, I
baseball.
like apple pie and all that stuff, but I mean, it's a bit fishy there. But maybe I'm wrong.
So my other answer to that is that when they started going into space, they started making stuff like the microwave. So anytime you go out, you create more to come in. So there's the potential for discoveries that you'll get going to those other places that'll help you explore under the ocean or whatever. You can't accurately predict. It's getting late. I'm tired. You can't accurately predict what you're going to discover out there that's going to help you down here.
And I think that on that very positive note, we've been here for like 2 hours, and a lot of people are tired. Honestly, myself included, I feel a bit tired. And I really enjoyed streaming with you guys. I'm sure we're going to do it again. If there's something specific you want to plug, Sean, what's going on? Is there anything you want people to check out?
Just check out the YouTube channel. Hopefully, I'll come up with something interesting soon. Other than that, I have stickers, custom stickers that I try to make clever descriptions for on realseancrummelart.etsy.com.
So his art thing is realseancrummelart.etsy.com, but you can also go to YouTube, find the real Sean Crummel, and you can subscribe there, which I think you should do if you get a chance. Then you have Professor R2. You can find him also on Professor R2. Am I missing something about the handle?
Oh no, I do. Obviously, I have a YouTube channel. I haven't really done anything with it yet, but maybe that'll change here in the near future. I've got a couple of ideas. You can find me on X, also Professor R2 there. Pretty regularly guesting over on the Mr. Brown Alliance, having some fun discussions over there. We've been reviewing the Acolyte every Wednesday. Sometimes that's fun, and sometimes it's a slog, but we've been getting through it. And then actually tomorrow I will be on with the B-Sides crew on B-Roll at YouTube, and on Rumble it is B-Roll Stage. We're gonna watch a couple of old drive-in movies and have a laugh at those old films. So
B movies are my favorite movies.
yeah,
Awesome. So thank you guys for being here. You guys really stepped up and came here to help me with Dread, kind of having to go do some stuff with family. I really, really appreciate it. And I have a feeling that we're still going to see more of each other. Thank you. And to the chat, of course, so many great people here. Jim Dowell, End of Time, Empress and NM, E. Clay Thomason. You have Kivo, Rida Ibn Muhammad, Empress NM, Phantom Outsider, Johnny, Fireball, Stephen Mack, I have no dick. I have no dick. I got it fine.
you just got that one. Huh?
I just got it. I guess I needed to be really tired to get this kind of joke. I got it though, finally. Phantom Outsider, DJ Play Nice, Rida Ibn Muhammad commenting I'm gonna say commenting is dragons. Commenting is dangerous. It should be dragons because dragons are cool. So there were a lot of people here, and Willem also was here, and I'm really grateful. And I'm grateful for you guys that you were here. And I want to wish everybody a good night, and we'll see you all on Tuesday. Good night.
Take care.